probably don't think about it, but every building that you have walked into, the cafe where you work, the apartment that you rent, and the gym that you go to, someone owns it and it is making them rich. You see, it is often claimed in investor literature that real estate has made more millionaires than any other asset class in history. And the most interesting part is that you don't need to be a millionaire already to get started in this journey. However, there are levels to this strategy, and the higher you climb, the more cash flow, control, and compounding power you unlock. This is the game the rich play. So in this video, we will discuss the 9 levels of real estate wealth game, how an ordinary person can get started and how the rich build their empires, and how it is possible to build crazy wealth as you go from one level to another. And having practically experienced 4 of these levels, this is one lore that is definitely possible. So hit that like button, and if you are interested in this video, do make sure that you watch it till the end and let me know which level did you like the best. So let's get started. Every player starts at this level. At level 1, you're probably living in a house already, which can be your own, or you might be renting it from someone else. But your house is not just a place where you live. It is your first opportunity to start making money from real estate. You see, you can rent out parts of your home that can get you that additional chunk of money. For instance, if you are living in a 2 BHK house, maybe you can sublet one room to cover costs. Or you buy a duplex and you live in one half and rent out the other half. The income that you would be generating through this subletting or renting out can help you cover the mortgage. This is called house hacking, and most people start here. It is one of the most accessible real estate strategies because you don't require a lot of capital to start it. And the best part of it is that if you are owning the house, then you're also building equity while living in the same house just by renting it out and being smart about your living situation. That income that you're getting, it is straight going into your net worth. This is how the game begins. When your house stops being your biggest expense but becomes your first investment. When you realize that your house can actually get you money while you're living in it, the next step becomes obvious. Level 2 is when you enter the world of becoming a landlord. Now, as life went by, as you progressed, you upgraded your lifestyle too, you upgraded your house too, and you moved out of that house that you were living in before, but you didn't sell it. Instead, you decided to rent it out. Now you are a landlord. You have tenants covering your mortgage and you are making money while you are sleeping. But, a big but there is that it's not all passive income. Maybe you have to repaint the occasional wall, upgrade the fridge, or fix a leaky faucet. But all this headache seems worth it when your property is finally pulling the weight more than you are. This is the level where people often get hooked to real estate. Your net worth is quietly ticking up every month. Sure, there are issues to handle, maybe a late check here and there, but the money is consistent. It's not you who are just working anymore, your property is also working for you. And that is called leverage. And this is what you gotta understand early, okay? Combining cash flow with ownership gives you real freedom. You're not swapping time for money anymore, your assets are giving you back time. If you want to build real wealth, you need to develop this mindset early on with everything. You'll want tools and systems that make you sharper, faster, and more productive. Okay, once you get the hang of a decent monthly rental, it's again time to level up. This is the time when you might start noticing that the place down the lane is always buzzing with different people. Maybe they are weekenders, maybe they are travelers, or maybe they are people who are carrying their laptop around. Digital nomads. So you do a little digging and you find out that it is an Airbnb and it is making triple the amount of what you make per month. And that's when you start realizing the bigger money actually comes from shorter stays. Welcome to the world of short-term rental. People usually refer to it as Airbnb, but it's actually a model which I talk about on my channel extensively. I have a whole lot of experience in this world. I hosted a number of properties, and yes, it is actually practically possible. The operations are simple. You take a decent apartment and you transform it into something that would entice people to stay there. You basically have to make it a welcoming spot, make it all comfortable, have great photos, good utilities like good Wi-Fi, maybe add in a pool if it's possible. Basically make it more attractive for people to want to stay there. Once you do that, once you put your photos online, suddenly you'll have weekends booked out months in advance. And you'll see that people are paying way more per night than you would have ever had any long-term tenant to pay you. So for instance, if your residential yield in cities like Delhi or Mumbai is 2% or 3%, an Airbnb on the same unit can get up to 5 or 6% also, provided it is well run, provided that you're doing it legally. Now, of course, there are some things that you need to handle while you are running Airbnb also, like occasional late night messages or the Wi-Fi acting up, or again fixing a leaky faucet. But the returns here literally skyrockets if you are able to optimize your costs well. If you want to know more about Airbnb, how to get started, I have made a number of videos on my channel, so you can watch those after you finish watching this video. But doing this business model myself, I realized this key insight that the rich practices. Sometimes you need to take risks and you need to prioritize cash flow over convenience. At the next level, you stop relying on only natural property value increases and start making it happen yourself. Now imagine this. For instance, you're driving around in a great neighborhood with all the facilities, and you spot a house that is not very well done and is most likely outdated. There's no one living there, it's worn down, and people are not even looking back at it. Now, most people, what they would do is they would not even give it a second glance, but you see it as an opportunity. So you think that I'll buy this house and I'll put in work in it. And you do that. You buy that house well below the market value, and then you get into it. You actually put work into it. You spend a few months renovating it, redoing it, nothing too fancy, but making it a place livable for people. And then, just like before, you rent it out. But this time, things are different. Now, the same house, which looked outdated before, people actually want to live there. It looks better and it is bringing in more income than it could have ever been imagined to bring. And the best part is that now you can actually go back to the bank and refinance the property and get most or all of the cash that you put into it originally. You're still owning the property and it is adding to your net worth. You're still generating the rent that you are getting from letting it out. But you have got your money back and you can start the whole thing again with maybe some other property. This is where things compound really fast. At this level, you're not just making money, you have unlocked a system that can make huge amount of wealth. The wealthy people, they love this model because it lets them grow without needing a lot of cash upfront. They are creating equity right from the scratch from day zero. After some time, it starts feeling amiss. Yes, your properties are doing great. Yes, you are doing consistent cash flow. But now you're tired of handling all the plumbing issues or dealing with phone calls or just spending your time there. So you start making your way to level 5. At this stage, you're not renting to individuals anymore. Rather, now you're looking to rent out to companies. You no longer take people as tenants. Rather, you're looking at 5 or 10-year long contracts with automatic rental increases. In this model, in a lot of cases, the tenants, which are big companies, usually they only handle all the maintenance or taxation or whatever is required. When you're dealing in commercial real estate, you mostly get rock solid stability. The leases are longer, the income is higher, and the tenants, well, they treat the space like it's their own because it's their business. You're locking in revenue for years at a time with fewer management headaches. This is where big investors jump in. Your holdings go from a side gig to a reliable infrastructure backed by solid contracts. Then you start thinking, what's next? Surely there's more to real estate than just homes, apartments, or buildings. What about those billboards, or those storage units, or laundromats? That's when you enter stage 6. This is the stage of a specialty investor, and you realize something really crucial here. Most often, the most boring investments, they bring the best returns. These boring investments are self storage units or laundromats or billboards. Now these properties, they're not glamorous, but they're simple, predictable, and often get the best returns. For example, in the US, self-storage has delivered 16% plus annual returns for decades. A parking lot in Mumbai's Bandra, bought for 2 CR, generates 25 lakhs annually in parking fees. That's 12.5% cash on cash return, plus the land appreciates every year. In most cases, the owner of the land, they're not even owning these units. It's just that the land that they have under these units. So that means that maintenance is minimal and the cash flow is strong. But why does this model even work? It's simple, because people always need spaces to store their units. They need space to grow their food, wash their cars, and even park their cars. The demand is never dying. So at this level, you stop chasing what just looks good and start chasing what works out consistently. But eventually, you're going to want to explore other models also. The reason is that you can't always keep buying stuff. You only have so much cash that you would want to spend in buying real estate only. But don't worry, if you plan to decide to go to level 4, the real estate mogul level, that is where things actually get more interesting. Okay, at this level, smart players, they stop investing alone and they form partnerships or syndicates. Instead of waiting to save up to buy properties, you actually raise money from other people and buy the property together. Now, this is how it works. As an example, you find say 10 CR apartment complex, you raise 8 CR from 10 investors, and then you put in 2 CR and manage everything from setting up the legal structure to maintaining the property. The investors, they just write the checks and collect returns. Now, this is a win-win situation for all people involved. You build equity and earn money without having to put in a lot of cash upfront yourself. And your investors, well, they get access to deals that they couldn't have done it themselves without having to manage tenants or any kind of management issues. So this is a model that the wealthy follow at a huge scale. And the thing is that it again comes down to the mindset. The wealthy, they are not shy of making other people rich while they are building wealth for themselves. But this is the level where it becomes less about owning properties and more about orchestrating deals. And moving on, now you enter level 8, the era of a developer. When you enter this stage, your mind is already rewired from finding opportunities to creating one. If your perfect property doesn't already exist, well, you can always just build one. Now, how does this approach work? Well, what a developer usually does is, firstly, he identifies areas that are going to boom. Then he buys raw land before development happens. Then he builds what the market will need 2 to 3 years from now. He can either sell or hold it based on market conditions. So that is the entire game plan that a developer looks at. Now, of course, it is much easier to buy property rather than build one. For instance, even for building a home, it requires so many licenses and permits and whatnot. My parents did it and they were stressed the entire time. And this is just a house that they did. Think about shopping malls, or think about cinema complexes, or think about maybe a big building. I can only imagine the headache. But that's where a developer thinks differently. If you are someone who's willing to put in the time and effort, and if you actually get it right, you're not just building a building, you're actually setting up a system that can create generational wealth. This will be the kind of move that sets your grandkids and your grandkids' life sorted. For some reference, think about areas like Whitefield in Bengaluru or Cyber City in Gurgaon. The developers who bought farmland there 25 years ago, they didn't just make money, they set up their fortune. All the big players such as the Ambanis, Emaar or the international developers, they have played or are playing at this level and have built their legacy. Now, if you've reached here, you're pretty much at the winner level of the game. But there's one more strategy that is not most often talked about. The final level is not about homes or offices or stadiums or malls. It is about power. At level 9, you're now too big to fail. You're not competing with anyone anymore. You're not competing with who will get the more market share. Now you are the market yourself. Take BlackRock for instance. It is a massive fund backed by literally tens of trillions of dollars in capitals. Now these guys aren't looking for a home to raise the kids in. They are buying thousands of homes in bulk. In India also, take DLF for example. It's not just a developer, it actually practically built parts of Gurugram from scratch. So when DLF decides to launch a project, or if it even pauses construction, property prices in that micro market move. DLF has influenced how infrastructure develops, from highways to commercial zones, effectively shaping entire cities, not just selling flats. A quick thought here though. Well, if you think that these funds would be really careful in what they are buying, because what if the real estate market crashes? They are the market themselves. What happens then? Now, these funds, they're not afraid to make mistakes, to buy things aggressively, and to get in debt. That's because they know that if and when the crash comes, the government is 100% going to bail them out. Otherwise, the ripple effect that it would have could destabilize the entire economy, right from local housing to the entire financial system. This is what actually kind of happened in the 2008 crisis also. So simply put, there's effectively no downside for them. They can get insanely rich without any consequences. At this level, real estate is not about equity or cash flow or anything that we both are concerned about. It is about power and only power. So these were the 9 levels of real estate game. And the thing is that everyone starts at level 1. Even the billionaires that you see today, well, they also started with one property at one point of time. But that is what you gotta understand. The game isn't about how many properties you own or how expensive your buildings are or how quickly you can flip a property. The game is actually about understanding leverage and compounding growth, building systems that work without you. If you are at level 0, just thinking about real estate and keen on getting into it, I would suggest that you start small. Maybe try house hacking or try Airbnb or try some small things that you can do in your control. Learning the fundamentals of cash flow is really important when you are just a beginner. However, if you are already at level 2 or 3, you can think about how to scale now further from this level. You gotta remember that the wealthy, they don't just buy land, they buy time in essence. Every property that you buy must move you closer to freedom, not farther from it. Let me know in the comments below which level are you at right now and where do you aspire to be. And I'll see you on the next one.